Hello, I'm Andrea Brown, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Sienna. Hi, Sienna.
Hi.
So, we were recently at a meet in Loughborough, and I met Sienna there. I actually met her because I was heat marshalling, and she ripped her suit like just as she was about to go up for her heat. Her race suit had ripped in rather an embarrassing place, and so that's how we met and got chatting. And then later on, she really took quite a bit of time to come and speak to me and my daughter India, who had done an event that she wasn't quite happy with the times. And some of the things that she shared made such an impact on me, and I thought was so relevant and significant that I asked if she wouldn't mind being on here with me today. And she actually said yes. So hey, Sienna, would you mind just telling people a little bit about who you are and a bit about your journey?
Well, I'm currently at Loughborough. I've just moved here. I'm a fresher. I'm doing sport and exercise therapy, a BSc in it. I started swimming quite late. Well, what's considered quite late? I don't consider it late. I consider it normal. I started swimming at 13. I was absolutely horrific. I wasn't very athletic. We'd always done like sports, but my other sisters were way better than I was. I wasn't very naturally athletic, I don't think. Um, and I started swimming 3 times a week just for fun, just because I enjoyed it. Uh, and I quite quickly decided, I want to just try racing. I want to try being the best I can. Um, so I went up to about 5 sessions a week at this small club, my home club, Sheffield City Swimming Club. Um, and I managed to get to nationals within a year of swimming. Although, if you look at my first ever times, you'd think, how the hell has she done that? Because it was quite rough. I can't lie. Um, yeah, so I managed to get to nationals in breaststroke, 100 just 100 breaststroke. Didn't qualify in the 50 or the 200. If I'm being quite honest, I didn't swim a 200 breaststroke till I was 15. Um, uh, and then I moved clubs. I moved to City of Sheffield just before lockdown. Was there for a couple of weeks. Really, really struggled because the training load was massive compared to what I was doing at Sheffield and what I'd got good on. Um, and I think fortunately went into lockdown, which enabled me to rest a bit, recover, um, and just go at my own pace. And then obviously when we came back, we managed to build back up. Um, we were on and off for lockdown. We were in and out of the water because obviously I wasn't good enough to be able to train through lockdown at the time. And then I came back fully in March when everything reopened in April 2021. Trained for 3 months, went to a competition, and quite surprisingly dropped 6 seconds in my 200 and 4 seconds in my 100 and qualified for European Juniors
That's
when I was
unbelievable.
when I was 16.
Unbelievable. Just so
I
that
don't,
everybody knows, in case there's any new swimmers and swim parents watching this, I don't think I've ever heard of a story where someone starts swimming at 13, makes it to nationals the first year, and basically makes it to Europeans after that. I mean, it's incredible, right? Did you
oh,
realize how incredible that was at the time?
not really. I don't think I ever gave myself back then a lot of credit. I just tried my hardest. Through lockdown, I just ran all the time, tried to keep fit. Not only that, it was so balanced. So I'd do my school, but then I could go and lay in the park and have fun. Like I had so much time for being social. Me and my sisters would go on bike rides. Me and my friends would go on bike rides. It was just a time where mentally I was quite clear, quite zen. And it was just relaxed. Like I was doing exercise because I enjoyed it. Like I love the feeling after you've done like a hard run or a hard set where you feel accomplished, and that's why I was doing it. But obviously it made me really fit, whereas when I'd first moved to City of Sheffield, I was on 9 sessions. I remember my first ever session there, I had 10 IM of 6 minutes. I didn't make 6 minutes because I was used to doing 3K a session max. um And then at the end, my coach went, right, stand up, 400 IM. So I was like, sorry. And it was so slow that he made us do it again. And I was there like, oh no, it was so horrific. But I don't think at the time, because I was only 15, I realised like how to prepare my body for that, how to recover properly, how to eat properly. I was definitely under fueling before lockdown. And obviously lockdown gave me a chance to eat the right amount because I wasn't burning as much in swimming, but also like be able to grow normally. I feel like everyone in lockdown went through a growth spurt just because we were able to relax and recover properly. So yeah, after I qualified for my first juniors, I managed to qualify for my second and third juniors. And I've been to youth commies and the World Cup, which you can probably see behind me. I've got all my badges from finaling. I came fourth at Euro Juniors 4 times, which was very annoying to go 3 times and not come away with a medal. But this summer I went to youth commies. I broke 1 Commonwealth record and came away with 3 gold medals and a silver medal, which was absolutely phenomenal. Just an amazing experience. If I'm being honest, I was nowhere near my PBs and not happy with how I swam, but to get out there and race and just get something from racing was just lovely. And to be in Trinidad and Tobago as well was a bonus, I can't lie.
Yeah, that's a bit nice. A bit different to Sheffield.
Massively. Yeah, a bit of a downgrade, really. No, it was absolutely phenomenal. It was just an amazing experience, just being in a different climate. It was wow, and the weather and the beaches.
I bet. So, as you know, we did a documentary that was all about mental health for youth athletes, and we're super passionate about it. And one of the things that really struck a chord with me was that although you've shared all of that today with us, which we love, what you shared with us at the meet was not the ups, it was more talking about the downs. And
Yeah.
I just wondered if you wouldn't mind sharing some of that and some of, as much as you're happy, you're comfortable sharing some of your downtimes and how you got through it. And Sienna, for me, it's so important. I think as parents, we can say a lot, coaches can say a lot, welfare officers can say a lot. But when swimmers hear from another swimmer who's walked the walk and journeyed it, it is so powerful, impactful. So please share with us whatever you feel comfortable with.
I think I've been quite fortunate in the fact that I've had a great range of coaches. I've had coaches that are really relaxed. I've had coaches that are really strict, and I've had coaches that are never happy with your performance, if that makes sense. And last season, I didn't PB since 2021. At the start of 2021. Luckily, you caught me last week when I just PB'd finally, and the world was a better place. But no, last year was a really, really rough season for me, mainly because I was at a club that's highly competitive, and the coach there, I struggled to gel with at some times. I'm a big believer in a happy swimmer is a fast swimmer, and I know that is so said so often, but I genuinely believe it to be true. And it got to a place last season where I was so unhappy, mainly because I was massively being overtrained. I swim 100 and 200 meters, and I was doing 9 sessions a week of up to 7 key sessions. From January to April, I was on this regime where I had so many hard sessions. I wasn't able to recover. I was training in the wrong training zones. I was going hard all the time. And what was so frustrating is I was going to the session, giving my absolute all, but not getting anything back. In fact, I was getting slower and slower. And I'd given so much to get to trials last year, British Championships in Ponds Forge in April, and not PB in my main event. I was just gutted.
Yeah.
And for not just to not PB, but to swim pretty poorly. It was just so frustrating.
Sienna, can I ask you as well, when you've had the success, and you'd had all the great stuff that you've told us about, to then go there, is there added pressure on yourself that there's this expectation of performing again?
Yeah, there was an added expectation, and also I don't like to lose. Obviously, no, everyone's competitive in their own ways, but it's the fact that if I did lose, I was treated quite harshly by my coach. I was under a coach that as soon as you start swimming slow, he pushes you to the side, and it changes how you're swimming. Like, I want to swim because I love it, and that's where I currently am. That's my headspace now at Loughborough, under the coach I'm under. I love swimming at the moment because I'm doing it. I go there, I'm with my friends, I give it my all, and I get out and I have no consequences. If I've done a bad set, okay, there's tomorrow, there's next week, there's next month, there's next season. Whereas at Sheffield, when I swam slow, it was right, she's gone, she's done for, she's out of it, you know, she's burnt out. When realistically, that mindset was burning me out. The fact that even one session, I'd get out and I'd be told that it wasn't good enough, that how am I ever going to go this time swimming like that? When necessarily you don't have to swim fast in training to PB in a race. As I saw this weekend, I've been doing some good training sessions, but I've been tired, you know, just got back from holiday, been back training. I didn't expect to walk away with 2 PBs in my main event, and 2 quite large PBs that I haven't hit in 2 years. But then I look back to last year and I reflect on it now. That girl was so tired, she was overtraining, she was giving it her all, being told she wasn't good enough, being told she's never going to make it, and constantly being pushed to the side. Like, my coach last year told me he never cared, he just felt sorry for me, which, you know, absolutely broke me, because obviously you put all this trust into a coach, and, you know, a relationship between a coach is important, but, you know, my worth doesn't depend on how I perform at the end of the day, and I shouldn't have been treated like that, even if I was swimming absolutely horrifically. But like I said, looking back on last year, I look at my situation and I do think I was my situational best, which is what I like to call it. And what I've spoke to my performance psychologist about is, you just got to be your situational best. So say you turn up to a meet and you feel absolutely horrific. I don't know, you started your period, which for me is a very hard time. Like, all you can do is the best you can do on that day. If you're not trying and you're messing about and you're not committing to the race, and if you're messing about in warm up, you're not warming up properly, then you're not being your situational best. And then I would expect someone to hold me accountable. And say if my coach said, Sienna, what are you doing? You know, you've got 40 minutes to your race and you've still not warmed up, then I'm clearly not being my situational best. I'm not getting the most I can out of that day. But say I'm giving my all, I've warmed up properly, I'm mentally prepared for my race, I've trained well, I've trained hard, and I still don't go well, then I've done my situational best. There's nothing more I can do, and you shouldn't be punished for that. Whereas last season, I was doing my situational best, obviously wasn't going very well, even though it was, because it was my situational best, but I was being punished for that. I was being told I was never going to make it, never going to get anywhere. I was in such a high stress situation where I was doing too much training, getting worse, but expect to get better. And when I was getting worse, I'd be given a higher training load, so it was counterproductive, but it was.
Let me ask you something about what you've said, because I think, you know, it's quite controversial, isn't it? People don't like to talk about leaving a coach or leaving a club, but the reality of it is, when I look at especially American swimmers, I think there's a couple of them who've got YouTube videos out, they've swam, very rarely is there this romantic notion of starting with one coach and one club and carrying that all through your career. It's quite normal to outgrow a coach or a club, or to just not gel with them. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the coach is bad, that the club is bad. It just means that it's not right for you. So how important do you think it is, now sort of reflecting back, that people are not afraid to make a move if it's not working out for you for whatever reason, that you're not critical of yourself, you're not critical of, you know, maybe the coach or the club, you just make a decision because it's just not working out?
Yeah, and I'd say a lot of us did that last year, as in we were at a club where it was mainly set for distance swimmers, And when we said, oh, look, we're doing too much, this is not specific, this, that, and the other, we were just ignored. So we all, you know, made the decision to move. We all went to different places. We all went to what suited us. And I feel, obviously, I'm a mid-distance swimmer to sprinter, and this program is focused on that. So I get, you know, what I need. I get what I need and what is required. Whereas, obviously, I was trying to make the best out of something that didn't work for me, and obviously that affected my performance and showed. But I think as people grow and as people get older, like, people change program, you might need a different, like, even a different stimulus. Like, if you've been around the same people all your life, you know, why don't you just, you know, it doesn't hurt to change. And like, people get upset, oh, you know, but I've got such a good family here, I've got such a good relationships here. What's to say you're not going to make great relationships elsewhere? Like, it was, don't get me wrong, it was a hard decision for me to make, to move to Loughborough, because I was like, you know, I have got some good friends here, although quite a few of them left with me. I have got good friends here, you know, I've got good relationships. I was born and bred in Sheffield, and to move to Loughborough, where I knew very, very little of the place, of the town, of the people, of the coach even, but just to take a risk and to see, you know, how much it has worked in my favour, because, you know, it's a fresh start. I've managed to make new friends, make people who, because obviously there's so many people at uni, make friends with people, you know, I don't know, just like start again, like,
Yeah.
do it how
And it's
I want to
obviously
do it.
worked.
Clearly, it was just so weird at the weekend, because swimming under no pressure. Normally, we'd have been put under so much pressure. I'd have been scared before my race, scared of the consequences of what's going to happen afterwards, thinking, oh, I'm going to be pushed aside after this. Whereas I just remember sitting behind the block before my race thinking, nothing. I just thought, it's a 200 breaststroke. Let's just go for it, see what happens. What's
I
the
mean, we were
worst?
chatting, you were really chilled out.
I was just sat there, like, just chilling, because I thought, what's the worst that can happen? Like, there's no consequences. If I swim badly, Andy's going to be like, oh, okay, we can improve on this, we can improve on this, we can improve on this. Let's say it to work. Whereas at Sheffield, it would be, right, this was rubbish. You're not listening to me. You're not improving. You never listen to me. It would be taken quite personally. And my old coach had this motto of, how many times do I have to tell you? And it's like, for me, what's helped me at Loughborough is I'm a very, very visual learner. I really struggle to imagine things so badly. So they use a camera here a lot at Loughborough, and that has helped me so much of my technique. Whereas at Sheffield, I'd constantly told things about my technique, and I was trying to do it, but I didn't know what to do. Because if you're told a new movement, you don't know what you're doing, do you? And I was constantly struggling to fix my technique. Like, I'd change it, but it wasn't good. Whereas here, I can see my technique and I can compare it to other swimmers who are better than me, faster than me. And it's just enabled me to grow as a swimmer. Whereas at Sheffield, it was very narrow-minded, if you know what I mean. It wasn't.
And it makes sense, doesn't it? Because we know people learn in different ways. We know that. So to have that applied to coaching, I think, you know, it makes sense. Tell us about, you said something to me that I'd never heard before. And I know you said it's out there, but I'd never heard of it. So maybe other people haven't too. You talked about the law of threes, which
Yeah.
was like a light bulb moment for me. Tell us about that.
Well, law of three, rule of three. Quite a few athletes use it, and like, I've spoke to a few. It's mainly used in track and field, but I don't get why it's not applied in swimming, because I think it is, like, so right. So the rule of threes is basically a third of the time you will swim and you will train absolutely amazing. Like, you'll be thinking, yes, I am on for a PB with how I'm training. Third of the time will just be average. You'll be hard to gauge. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's just standard, you know, good set. And then the third of the time, it will be awful. You'll feel awful, you'll train awful, you'll be giving it your absolute max, your heart rate will be up there, but you're just not getting it. But you have to have all those three things to be a great athlete. You are not going to be a world-class swimmer if you swim great all the time. You're not going to be a world-class athlete if you swim average all the time. Like, I was speaking to a swimmer, I won't name the name, but they're an Olympian, and they were saying about how just before the Olympics, they had 3 days straight where they swam horrifically. They weren't hitting any of their times in this prep sets. They weren't hitting any of their times on race pace. They were so far off. And they were like, oh, it's fine. It's fine because last week I swam really well. And the week before that, I wasn't that great. But last week I swam well, so I know I can do it. And they went and set a world record. Like, you can't swim well all the time. You can't swim amazing all the time. There's got to be a balance. And I think not only swimmers have to realise that, but coaches as well. Because I've had coaches where I have really good sessions and then the next day I'm swimming not great and they're shouting at me going, what's wrong with you? You know, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Why don't you just get out of the pool? And it's like, well, I swam well yesterday and I know I've not got an excuse to swim badly today, but sometimes it just happens. Like, you just can't control it sometimes. It's out of your control. So you've just got to be, again, your situational best, finish the set. You've done all you can in the set. You've tried your hardest in the set. It may have been utterly terrible, but at least you did it. You've accomplished it. And it's just getting something out of everything that you do.
I love it because, and I think it's so freeing, right? So freeing to say that it's okay. It's okay that that training session was not your best. That doesn't mean that you're useless or that, you know, that you throw in the towel. It just becomes, it normalizes it, doesn't it? And to hear that, you know, Olympic athletes have that attitude, you just automatically become more relaxed about the sport if you allow yourself the ability to not have the pressure of performing at 100% every time.
Yeah.
Tell me, you, before we got on the recording, you'd mentioned somebody to me who hadn't PB'd in 7 years. Tell us about that.
It might have been 6 or 7, but I think her story is just so inspiring. Emily Large, she was such an incredible junior, won World Juniors, and then for 7 years she moved about different clubs again, different stimulus. She moved, I think, from Newcastle to Bath to Millfield. Just obviously her own choice, her own preference. And she didn't PB for 6 or 7 years, and then this April swam absolutely phenomenally. PB'd and then got onto the world team. And it's stories like that that just, you know, just because you've not done it for 2 years, just because you've not done it for a year, just because you've not PB'd that season, doesn't mean that it's not on the horizon, doesn't mean that it's not possible. And it, like, hearing her speak about it, I was just like in awe. You know, she's so deserved it because obviously she's given it her all, but it just didn't happen. She was always a situational best, and then the time came when she PB'd and she got onto the world's team. It's just, yeah, it's a pretty cool story.
Having the tenacity and the drive and the mental resilience to keep going, even though the results that you want are not showing up when you want them to show up, is huge, isn't it? But this, I think that's really the message here for swimmers, is that is so normal. It is so normal to have that, and you just need to keep going and enjoy it. The only way to keep going is if you're enjoying it, because if you're only enjoying it because of the results, for sure there's going to be the day that the results don't come, so you better be enjoying the rest of it.
That's what I came to Loughborough. My aim when I came here was just, you need to relax and you need to enjoy it. Because last year I was just getting slower and slower and slower and slower. And I was getting so worked up because I was like, I trained so hard in training. I hit these incredible training times and it's just not coming out. And I kept getting ill because I was so overturning, under fueling, you know. I went on supplements, of which one of my coaches didn't like me going on because he was worried I'd gain weight, therefore swim slower. And I can tell you, Andrea, at the weekend, I was the heaviest I've been ever, and I PB'd. So fantastic. That's another thing. Weight has nothing. I hate it when coaches turn into nutritionists. Weight has nothing to do with your performance. Okay? Like, I can't judge how well I'm going to swim off. Like, if I weigh myself, it's a 70 kilograms. I shouldn't be worrying if that's more than I weighed yesterday. It means nothing. With women as well, it fluctuates around our period, obviously water weight. And And it's just nothing to worry about. If you are worried about it, speak to someone professional, speak to a nutritionist, speak to a dietitian, speak to someone who's obviously qualified. But that was another thing that obviously last year I was so concerned about, because like I went to go on creatine and my coach was like, no, I don't want you putting on weight. Why do you want to go on it? You don't swim well on it. I'm on it right now, a weekend, so I'm very well at it. Last time I PB'd in my 100, this time last year, I was on it. But obviously my coach wasn't happy with me on it, because the last thing they wanted me to do was put on weight, because they thought, oh, she puts on weight, her performance goes down. That's not the case. It may be for some people, but not for myself and not for a lot of people.
And it's so individual, isn't it? It's very difficult to have a blanket answer to anything. And as you rightly said, everybody needs to check in with their doctor, with a dietitian, with a nutritionist, and come up with their own individual plan around that. So, hey, just before we end, I just wanted to ask, so you were so inspiring, and I've got so much gratitude towards you, because some of the things that you said to my daughter and to me as a parent really will stay with us for life. So I just wanted to first of all encourage other athletes, you don't think that because you're not a Ledecky or a Michael Phelps that you haven't got an opportunity to say something that's going to be inspirational and have a huge impact on other swimmers. So first of all, just from me to you, I've got so much gratitude for you. I didn't ask you to do it, you just did it, and it meant so much to a 13-year-old girl. So thank you so much for that. If you were to look back at your younger self, or that there are other swimmers out there who are struggling with their mental health, they're not enjoying it, they're not having fun, what sort of guidance would you give them?
I think one is talk about it. I definitely got easier last season when I started speaking about it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be to people within swimming. Like, I opened up to my college tutor, James, who was actually amazing. I broke down multiple times in front of that man, completely having a mental health crisis. And he, got me some of the support I needed, talked me through it constantly. Still now he keeps in touch every so often. This weekend, he messaged me after my race, was like, oh my god, kid, well done. And I was a bit like, oh yes. But no, it's not just don't just keep it to yourself. You need to let other people know, and also think to the future as well. I think we can get stuck in like this cycle of when we're not PBing, or when something's not doing well, or if we've fallen out with our coach, or if we're struggling at training with people training with us, if we've fallen out with them, or if there's some bullying going on. Sorry, we can get in this cycle of thinking, oh my god, I hate this, what am I going to do, how am I going to do this? I think to the future, like when I started struggling last year, when my training got changed and my relationship, my coach sort of dissolved in January, my first thing was, right, let's look to next season. How can we change, and how can we make ourselves better? How can we get out of this situation and make it less negative, make it more positive? And my thought was, okay, let's think about uni. Where can we go? And even if it's not that, even if it's younger swimmers, think about college. Think about what you're going to do in the future. Think about how you can benefit yourself. Look at other programs. Don't be, afraid to, experiment a little bit. And that's how I think I helped myself a lot last year, was I was very proactive. Because at the end of the day, the only person, obviously you can look for help, and I encourage that so much, but the only person who can save yourself from yourself is you. The only person who can bring yourself out of that hole at the end of the day is you. And I was in such a state last year where I was so overtrained, so tired, so fatigued. I had chronic fatigue. I was so unhappy with how I was being treated by my coach and a few of my teammates. I thought, well, a few of my teammates, a teammate, I thought, right, how do we get out of this situation? How do I make myself Sienna again? How do I become Sienna Robinson? Because I just wanted to be 100% myself. I didn't want to have to change myself for no one. I didn't want to have to change myself for teammates, for my coach. I wanted to be 100% myself, and I wanted to feel safe on poolside. So I looked around and I thought, Loughborough, that's a good programme. I went and spoke to a few of the coaches, found a program that worked for me, and thought, yes, I'm going to go here. I'm going to apply. I applied to get in, and I managed to get onto one of the courses, luckily. I also applied elsewhere because I needed a safety net. So I also looked at them as well. But yeah, I applied and I got in, and I thought, right, let's forget about last year for now. And obviously I still think about it a lot. I mean, the other day I started thinking about it, ended up crying to my boyfriend for 20 minutes about it, and he was sat there like, but no.
Is he a swimmer?
Yeah, he is.
Well, he gets some of it then. He doesn't think
Yeah,
you're
he
a
does.
complete lunatic.
He was just like, stop thinking about your old coach. I'm like, but no. Oh, I've lost my train of thought now. But no, I thought about, I said, right, let's forget about this last season for now. Let's just start this season on afresh. Let's meet new people. Let's make new friends. Let's get a good relationship with my flatmates. And let's just, see what we can do. Let's practice our technique. We know where we went wrong last season. I was doing too much mileage. My technique was off and I had no speed. So they're the three things that I went into this season, spoke to my new coach about, made him aware of, also made him aware of how I was trained last year. And we came up with a plan of how we're going to swim this season, which we both agreed upon. Like, that's another thing as well. It can't just be something that you want to do. It can't just be something your coach has to do. You have to agree on it. And I think by the fact that I looked forward and planned this season out and forgot about last year, started afresh, and I was like, right, we're not sad anymore. We've moved. We're out of that situation. We don't have to turn up be on poolside and be scared of the session. We don't have to get in the pool and be scared of how we're going to swim. We can just be relaxed. And I think that is what has helped me so far in this season. And hopefully we can continue it. I say we, it's me. Hopefully I can continue it throughout the season and just enjoy it. Like, I'm not going to PB at every meet, but just try and be the best version of myself.
So just tell us, because there'll be lots of young swimmers who will be, stars in their eyes over this. What are your PBs at the moment?
So short course, because they're my favourite. That's my best one. It's a 106.0 for 100, 222.0 for 200. I don't like the point zeros. I was like, I wanted to get a 5. And long course, it's a 108.6 for 100 and 227.0, which needs to be broken this year in the 200.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being utopia and 1 being rubbish, how happy is Sienna Robinson at the moment?
I'd say we're a solid 9.5.
Which is amazing, just amazing.
Yeah. If you'd asked me that back in August, back in July back to December, would be saying 1 or 2. It was not looking good. But you just need to look forward and also just speak to other people if you are feeling like that.
Absolutely. Sienna Robinson, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. You're absolutely inspirational. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me, Andrea.